What has America become? Hello everybody, David Shuster here. This is video recorded on a door camera in Somerville, Massachusetts. Those are federal agents with their faces covered approaching from the right. Their target is a peaceful graduate student at Tufts University who wrote an op-ed the Trump administration didn't like. That student activist, 30-year-old Ramadan Öztürk from Turkey, is on the left, they're on the white. Öztürk is in the United States on a valid and legal student visa. Eventually, the agents identify themselves as law enforcement. A bystander, though, asks why the 6 agents are wearing masks and face coverings.
The police, where the police?
Yeah, you don't look like it. Why are you hiding your faces? Why are you hiding your faces?
The agents take Öztürk away.
Yeah, we're gonna take a look.
I see some faces here. How do I know this is the police?
And there was no allegation that she has violated any law whatsoever.
Massachusetts Democratic Attorney General Andrea Campbell is working with Öztürk's attorney.
What information specifically are you looking to get from the federal government?
What's the timeline here? Is she a threat to any community? Because based on every assessment we've done here in Massachusetts, where of course she was attending school, she is not.
The U.S. Department of Homeland Security posted on X, DHS and ICE investigations found Öztürk engaged in activities in support of Hamas, a foreign terrorist organization. What activities? DHS refuses to say and refuses to provide any details. Now, about the Öztürk op-ed. Here's the reporting from NBC News.
A year ago, Öztürk co-wrote an opinion article in the school newspaper that called on the university to label the war in Gaza a genocide and divest from companies tied to Israel. Immigration law gives Secretary of State Rubio power to deport visa holders who would have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences to the U.S.
We revoked her visa. We gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses.
During the campaign, President Trump promised to deport foreign students involved in pro-Palestinian protests on campuses, where some Jewish students reported being harassed and assaulted.
If you hate America, if you want to eliminate Israel, we will throw you out of our country so rapidly your head will spin.
It's not clear if Öztürk wants to eliminate Israel or hates America, but even if she does, writing or expressing such views that many of us detest is not against the law, even for a foreigner who is in the United States. And the Department of Homeland Security has provided no evidence about Öztürk's role in public protests. As a result, the arrest is shocking, especially to the graduate students' friends.
There's definitely a feeling of feeling very unsettled and scared right now, and people not knowing what to do.
As of this video, Ramadan Öztürk is being held in a federal detention facility in Louisiana. It's the same facility holding another student from Columbia University who federal agents also recently pulled off the street. I'm going to try and make this simple. I strongly disagree with what these students have said and written regarding Israel and the war in Gaza. I believe the activists' claims about Israel are absurd, illogical, defy reality, and are clearly motivated by unbridled hate. But saying something that you or I disagree with is not a crime. And I will always stand for the right of anybody in the United States to exercise their free speech as protected by the U.S. Constitution. In the 1970s and 80s, when I was growing up in the Midwest, there used to be Nazis in that part of the United States, including in Illinois, who would regularly hold public marches. They would say things that were despicable, including praise for Adolf Hitler and chants about finishing the Nazi efforts to kill all the Jewish people. It would literally make my blood boil. But the right of anybody, even hate mongers like Nazis, to free speech is protected by the U.S. Constitution. That principle has been upheld repeatedly by the U.S. Supreme Court. And that principle, that right to free speech, is far more important than any of our feelings or views about the content or truth of what's being said. So I've said this through the years, and I will say it again now. I will fight for the right of anybody, even people I disagree with and hate, to speak freely and engage in peaceful protests, because that free speech is at the core of who we are in America. And if free speech is taken away from anybody, it can eventually be taken away from everybody. If the Trump administration has evidence that Ramisa Osterk has actually engaged in violence or given material criminal support to a terrorist organization, let's see that evidence. Put it in a court filing. But writing an op-ed or marching in a peaceful demonstration is protected under our Constitution. And the Constitution applies to everybody in the United States. Or at least it did until the Trump administration. We've now seen the Trump crown throw away due process for migrant workers, minorities, and foreign students. Snatching a peaceful person off the street whose only offense is to publish an op-ed or have a view the government doesn't like, that is absolute authoritarianism and tyranny. It is outrageous and despicable. And if we're going to keep America from sliding further into fascism, all of us, even those who we disagree with on issues and events of our time, we must all come together and stand together for free speech. By the way, the Trump administration is closing down FEMA just as meteorologists are now issuing dire warnings about U.S. hurricanes in 2025. Headline: 6 storms to smash the U.S. as forecasters warn of blockbuster hurricane season. Here's the latest from AccuWeather.
So for this year, we're forecasting 13 to 18 named storms across the Atlantic Basin, 7 to 10 of which we expect to become hurricanes. And then of those 7 to 10, 3 to 5 major hurricanes. That's category 3 or above. But the number that everybody wants to know about, how many impacts for the United States. Last year, we saw 6, a very, very destructive year. This year, we're forecasting 3 to 6 hits on the United States.
And we're going to eliminate FEMA. So we've got a lot to do, but it's all good. And we're working hard, and we're going to make sure that we're continuing to do exactly what you promised.
We're not preparing. As Trump officials vow to eliminate FEMA, the agency is already in turmoil. Quote, the agency is in turmoil with disaster assistance, grant money, and hiring largely stalled, threatening its ability to respond to major disasters, multiple FEMA officials tell CNN. March is typically when we're finalizing hurricane plans. A lot of that got paused. The FEMA official who works directly on disaster response told CNN. So it's already having an impact, which is that we're not preparing. Instead of preparing for hurricane season, one official told CNN they've spent days checking workers' renewal dates and working on justifications for their roles. Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Winston, who wrote, but we can afford to give Elon Musk $8 million a day of taxpayer money. The ignorance in this country is unbelievable. I hear you. I look forward to reading your comments about government agents snatching peaceful students off of U.S. streets. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.